Good morning. Today we're looking at Genesis chapter 25, verses 19 through 28. And as always, I encourage you to read this passage personally because it teaches you about God's sovereignty, his purposes in choosing and the shaping of two different lives. In verses 19 through 20, the focus shifts fully to Isaac, the son of the promise. Isaac now is 40 years old when he marries Rebekah, and the covenant line continues through them. Yet in verse 21, we see a familiar struggle. Rebekah is barren. Just as Abraham and Sarah, the promised must come through God's power, not human ability or strength. Isaac responds by praying to the Lord Yahweh for his wife, and God hears him. This reminds us that God often works through prayer to accomplish his purpose, not ours. In verse 22 and 23, Rebekah feels a struggle within her womb and seeks the Lord. God reveals that the two nations are within her, two people who will divide, and that the older will serve the younger. And we can see that this is significant because it is a reverse of the normal expectations of the culture. God's purposes are not bound by human customs or natural order. His plan unfolds according to his sovereign will. In verse 24 through 26, the twins are born. Esau comes first, red and hairy, followed by Jacob, grasping Esau's heel. Their birth symbolizes the tension already declared by God. Even before their lives unfold, the direction of their paths have been seen and set within God's plan. In verses 27 and 28, we see the beginning of their different characters. Esau becomes a skillful hunter and a man of the field, while Jacob is described as a plain man, dwelling in tents. Isaac favors Esau, but Rebekah favors Jacob. This division in the home foreshadows future conflicts and reminds us how human preferences can complicate relationships even within God's unfolding plan. We also see how this passage teaches us that God's purposes are established even before we fully understand them. His plan is not shaped by our expectations, but by his sovereign wisdom. At the same time, prayer, faith, and character still matter as life unfolds. We can also see how this passage points us to Christ, because just as God chose according to his purpose and not human effort or human order, salvation ultimately rests on God's grace, not our status or our strength. God's redemptive plan continues through imperfect people, moving steadily toward the coming of Christ. Today, trust God's sovereignty, even when life feels uncertain or when outcomes do not unfold as you expect. Bring your concerns to him, the Lord, in prayer, and choose to cultivate a heart of faith and obedience, knowing that God is working his purpose beyond what you can presently see. God bless.